This is the Morning Blitz.
Welcome back to the Morning Blitz.
Welcome back.
Oh, yeah. After a long weekend, I went camping. I had a lot of fun. Went to that little Christmas thing down at Mid-City. I enjoyed my weekend, and I tried to stay away from the football a little bit more, but I still caught myself sleeping in the Ford Expedition on a campsite watching Tennessee, Georgia, because what an enjoyable game that was supposed to be, when in fact Georgia honestly just laid down some dominance against the team that could not get to Carson Beck and cause him to throw interceptions.
No, and I know that like on Talking Ball they do like the good, the bad, the ugly on this. Yeah. I have to give Beck all the credit in the world because we had talked about his interceptions that he had thrown, how bad he had been playing recently, and that man showed up against Tennessee. I know Tennessee's secondary isn't the best in the SEC, but the fact that the offensive line was able to keep the defense for Tennessee away from Beck. Beck was able to step up, make a lot of good runs, and keep drives going. Like, that was by far one of the best performances that we had seen from him in a very long time. And it was absolutely amazing to watch the way that Georgia played against Tennessee on Saturday night. Again, Tennessee fan, but I will tell you, like Beck played absolutely tremendous on Saturday night.
And I mean, we're right down the middle when it comes down to it. Of course, we have to favor some teams, but I mean, that doesn't mean we're just going to go all their side, even though Alabama obviously had a very dominant win.
Oh, it was a nail biter against Mercer. Like, getting onto the field was terrifying. I heard like one of them, just there was at some point in time, there was a hose that was down on the ground and almost a player tripped over it. That was probably like the most adversity that team faced all day on Saturday.
But I mean, let's be real. All right. Even though it was a Mercer team that not a lot of people are focusing on, unless you're a fan of said Mercer, they're a 9-1 squad coming into Tuscaloosa, and you'd think they would at least challenge the Crimson Tide in some ways, and that just wasn't the case. And we got to see 4 different quarterbacks for the Crimson Tide come in and show off a little bit of what they got. And I got to say, Jalen Milroe, spectacular game from him. But the most impressive thing I saw from this game was Ty Simpson getting away and chucking the ball down the field and almost getting a touchdown on that one play late in the game. I got to say, I think the future seems all right for Alabama, past, of course, Jalen Milroe, but outside of that, just a spectacular game from the Crimson Tide to get prepared, of course, for the challenges ahead. Oklahoma this week, and then, of course, the Iron Bowl the week following, which I cannot wait for. But it's not the most interesting that happened over the weekend, as we also got to see Alabama basketball face off against Purdue. And I got to admit, coming into this game, I was already worried. All right, this is an Alabama team that has not really shown too much of a spark in their out-of-conference matchups. Then they go up against Purdue in Purdue. And I was thinking there's no way this team's going to be able to really hang with the Boilermakers. But they did. But it wasn't all the way throughout because Purdue was just able to lay it down. And I wonder exactly what it was that really broke the camel's back. And I'm going to go to you, Bandy, since you are the basketball man. I mean, this is a different Purdue team, but they're still finding the same type of success we saw last season when, of course, they made that run into March Madness.
Yeah, true. And I will admit, this is a little bit of a weaker Purdue squad compared to last year. I mean, you don't have Zach Edey anymore. You don't have a 2-time basketball player of the year in him now, but it is still a very good team. And coming off, I mean, they needed a really big performance out of the whole Boilermaker squad to really get a win over Alabama, and they kind of did. Yeah. Mainly through Trey Kaufman-Renn.
Yeah.
Had a career high 26 points, 12 of 23 from the field, only shot 1 3, but he made it. So, I mean, does that really matter if he only shot 1?
100%.
He's 100%.
100% from 3. 1's all it takes. That's why all the centers have the best 3-point average in the NBA at 100%. But again, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, just a career night for him.
Yeah.
And then a little bit of a lull period on the Alabama side. Mm-hmm. Like, you had the points kind of spread out. LeBaron Philon, though, he was the standout on this Alabama team. I'm really loving the way LeBaron Philon has been fitting into NATO's system.
Yeah.
The way he's been playing, it has been tough. It's almost like a mini Mark Sears in a way. Like, you got Mark Sears up top in the starting lineup, playing to his absolute hardest, playing tough, and then you got LeBaron Philon coming in right after him, essentially doing the same thing. Like, nothing is changing when you switch between the guards, which is great. but more needs to happen.
Yeah, more does need to happen, and we expect
But shots need to fall.
We expected a lot more to happen,
and the turnovers need to stop, man.
Yes.
See, like that was the other part. It's early on in this basketball game.
8
They
turnovers.
kept turning the ball over, and you shot yourself in the foot. And the moment that those turnovers stopped is when Alabama started getting back into this basketball game. And look, this is why I enjoy these types of games. Absolutely. Like I was working Friday night, had a volleyball game at UAH. We had the game up as it was going, which did everybody struggle finding Peacock? Because again, I'm on Peacock like every day. Yeah. So I saw a lot of people complaining about this game being on Peacock. Like it's just hey, look, it's there you go. You click watch now. Boom. Here we go.
I use a different way to watch these kind of games.
Oh no, trust me. I found a new way over the weekend to tell you guys about. Oh, trust me. I'm literally about to get rid of every bit of my cable.
I'm terrified.
Every single bit of it because I found this app. It is amazing. I'm actually about to install it over here. Anyways, so like once the turnovers stopped, you go into Purdue in a hostile environment. Like this is it. Loud. Alabama had been struggling offensively in this. And then you started to see them continue to fight with Purdue. If they would have just been a lot smarter with the basketball early on, this would have been a totally different basketball game later on. Yep. They were just having to fight uphill battle. Yep. And it sucked seeing them do that because they had the opportunity to get back in this. It just took so much out of them getting back into it. They couldn't finish it.
Yeah. And I think the fouls are definitely a huge thing still for this Crimson Tide team. Again, you have a lot of young players coming in, a lot of new players to try and adjust with Nate Oates' squad. But on top of that, the three-pointer is not hitting like they have been. Of course, last season we saw it in every single game. It was the strong suit of this basketball team. But now we see a 9 of 29 percentage that goes for 31%, which is definitely not what you want if you're the Crimson Tide. You want to be hitting around that 45 and possibly even touching the 50 mark. Similar to, of course, what Purdue did when they were able to hit 56.3. But on top of the Alabama basketball, that is going to only get more difficult in this out-of-conference play. They got Rutgers next, and that's not going to be an easy matchup. We also got a lot of fighting that everybody was just loving this past weekend.
No.
Joe wasn't.
Okay, no. I loved one of the fights this weekend.
No. I literally – so here's what happened. I walked into the house after working the volleyball game, like I was telling you guys about. I walk into the bedroom and my wife has got the fight on. Mm-hmm. I looked at the television and I said, change it or I'm walking back out.
Wow.
I said, I'm not watching this garbage.
I'm going to the Holiday Inn
down the road. I'm not watching this garbage. Like I had just gotten in. And I got lucky because that was when all of the connections and the buffering issues started taking place. So she backed out of it. And I said, look, I'll even watch the show that you want to watch. Let's just not watch this. Like I'm not watching this garbage. Like I'm just not going to.
I mean, I get where you're coming from. It is a publicity stunt.
Oh, it was.
But to see Mike Tyson get back in the ring at the age of 58, the ripe age of 58, it's definitely a little bit intriguing. And that's why it grabbed at least me and I guess a majority of America. And on top of that, about 6 million people on Antonio Brown's Twitter page. So.
Well, no. And look, I saw the last 5 minutes where Paul was like bowing to Mike Tyson as the clock was running out.
5 seconds.
Yeah, it was. And so what's crazy is if I was Tyson right there when he bowed, I would have literally lit his head up.
I know you would have.
I would have lit his head up. I absolutely would have because I look, and this is why, again, like nothing against it. Like Mike Tyson, he is absolutely the GOAT. But this is where the publicity stunt comes in. This is why I say it was a lose-lose situation because you just went 8 rounds with a 60-year-old man.
Yeah.
You went 8 rounds with a 60-year-old man. I don't care about the gloves and all this other stuff. You went 8 rounds with a 60-year-old man, and we're supposed to be applauding you for this?
Yeah. You didn't even knock him down.
No.
Once.
I don't think you can knock that man down.
No, and that's what I'm saying. You were doing something that a nobody 20 years ago was able to do, and I'm supposed to kiss your feet? No way. That's why it's a joke.
I look at it like this.
Yeah, face of boxing. Get out of here.
And this is the way that boxing is right now. You get a lot of those celebrity matchups, and that's what's really driving the sport. Whereas that's
the only thing driving the sport.
You look at guys like Terrence Crawford. You look at guys like Alvarez. I mean, these are the real boxers that are actually, putting up those fights that look like warriors that we used to watch back in the day, like the Mike Tysons, like the Muhammad Ali's. And it's just not the same type of sport now. Of course, they drive for the money. And I will say, it's not terrible for the sport, but seeing Jake Paul at the center of it all, it's not really the best of looks.
Well, and a lot of people, again, when it comes to gambling, when it comes to that sort of stuff, people are going to pay to watch each other fight. Like they're just going to. That's why UFC has all of their pay-per-views on a monthly basis. It's the reason why you see all of these boxing matches continue to draw gigantic crowds. Again, AT&T Stadium was filled up.
Stacked.
Like exactly. And so you're going to continue to see this. So when it comes to live gambling and watching it in person, it is going to continue to grow. But again, what did this do for the sport?
Nothing.
Not one thing.
No, it just proved that. Honestly, this whole fight card just proved that the main sport is rigged.
Well, and
it's one of the most rigged sports.
I want to know why you think it's rigged, Bandy.
Because how in the world? Okay, you might have tuned in for the Mike Tyson fight. The fight before that between Serrano and I forget who she's fighting. She's a champion. I don't really care about her name because she sucks.
I was too busy doing the scoreboard show with Scott Tyson.
But how in the world do you
Not Mike Tyson.
land less hits than your opponent? Less overall total punches thrown, everything less than Serrano did, and you headbutt her twice, and you still win. I don't understand it.
So
it was highway robbery on that fight card.
So this is something that I think that college football needs to pay attention to, because when there is no consistency, when there is no transparency with how you're doing things, and when you continue to do things that do not make sense to the general public, you're not doing a overall good for the general public to bring them into the sport. And that's kind of how boxing is. There's so many titles. You have no clue about the 55 different weight classes. You don't understand how the judges are grading everything. It is so convoluted, and so it is a sport that you have no rhyme or reason for anything outside the fact of if you knock them down for 10 seconds, then you're going to win. That's it.
And that's why the only reason that people were watching this fight was because of the two names that were in the ring. They didn't care really what was going to happen. They thought that Mike Tyson stood a chance, but again, 58-year-old man, well outside of his prime. We saw him fight back in 2020.
Yeah.
It wasn't a convincing fight. So who would have thought that going up against the guy Jake Paul that has now been training for over 6 years to box, to be one of the top boxers, even though, he might not be because he hasn't faced the challenge. He's still been having
he hasn't faced a real fighter.
He still had that training regimen, though.
Yeah, I want to be taken seriously as a fighter. It's like, well, the only guy you fought kind of seriously was Tommy Fury, and you lost by decision.
Look, this would be the equivalent of, say, Texas saying that, you know what, we are undefeated. Dude, you play in the Mountain West and you have 15 5-stars. Like, you should be undefeated.
Kind of like when UCF claimed the national championship.
Yes. Like, okay, great. But who did you play? Well, we played Auburn in the Peach Bowl. Dude, you played an Auburn team that I don't even think they prepped for that game. Like, I really genuinely don't.
Well, they actually beat LSU that season whenever they were saying that they were top dogs. But that was with Joe Burrow.
That was with Joe Burrow. And that was also Joe Burrow's transferring in for the first time and had a totally different LSU team than what they would become.
Remember the hit that changed Joe Burrow's career for the
Absolutely. Absolutely. Maybe some people need to take more hits like that. But Peyton Thorne needs to get a truck and leave. Okay. So this whole thing with all of this is you are not going to grow the sport. Like look at Jake Paul's brother, Logan Paul. Okay. Yes, I'm a massive wrestling fan. And in the tradition of professional wrestling, a lot of times what you do is you will have an older wrestler go up against a younger wrestler, and the older wrestler will eventually pass the torch. Yeah. So that's the reason why you will see this happen so often whenever you're seeing it. Like, let's go back, for instance, to WrestleMania 30 when Daniel Bryan beat Triple H in that den. Do not look at me like that,
Definitely
but I'm just using
this one.
Absolutely. Two older wrestlers passed the torch to Daniel Bryan, and then he was supposed to take over as the face of the company. It built the sport and continued to go with longevity for whatever the sport was doing so they could continue to be popular. Jake Paul, a YouTube guy that has not faced anybody, going up against, let's be honest, an old man that's like right now he could get like his senior citizen discount, is not going to grow the sport so that the next young kid is going to go, yeah, I want to get in and box because I just saw this old man go the full round. I saw the guy that was playing the piano in The Hangover go full, 8 rounds with Jake Paul. Because basically, think about it. Young kids today, that's all they know from Mike Tyson.
I'm Mike Tyson.
I know. I've been saying it for years. UFC has just taken over the slot that boxing was in.
1,000%.
I mean,
And another
there's a
reason for that is
behind
because the fighters can fight more than once every 9 months.
Right.
So they fight every 3 months. You have a little bit more of a, oh, hey, this fighter won in August. He's fighting again in November, or she's fighting again in November.
Yeah.
Like, you have that where boxing doesn't have it. That's where boxing is screwing up. And if college football isn't smart, with the college football playoff committee and the transparency on how they're ranking these teams and what they're basing it on, then you're going to start losing people more than you're going to start attracting people.
Well, I'm not for that opinion right there, but it's totally fine because that's the way that this show is supposed to go. Either way, the SEC also finds itself with a 4-way tie going into the final weeks of the regular season, and I want to know in the next segment who's the best: Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and heck, let's throw out a Texas A&M team that's just slightly outside of the playoff picture. And on top of that, of course, we're going to get into the wacky underdog picks. 256-5764-97-7 to get in on this wide open edition of the Morning Blitz.
Rich Eisen here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Join us all season long as we get you ready for primetime NFL action every Monday night. Along with Kevin Harlan, Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner, and the entire Westwood One team will take you inside the locker rooms and the stadiums for exclusive previews and all the play-by-play action. Every week on Monday Night Football.
Right here on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Hey folks, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford. If you're in the market for a new ride, now is the time to make your move. We've got over 700 new Fords to choose from, and with over 2,700 Google reviews, our customers have spoken, giving us a pretty impressive 4.4 out of 5 stars. Believe me, we work hard every day to earn those 5 stars. Just tell us what you need. This month only, we're offering big savings on your favorite Ford models. You can save up to $10,000 off MSRP on a 2024 F-150 Super Crew pickup. Or take $9,500 off MSRP on a 2024 Edge all-wheel drive. And if you're looking for something even bigger, take a spin in our 2024 family-size Expedition, available for $11,000 off MSRP. Deals end November 30th. And with always, it's with your good credit. Stop by Woody Anderson Ford today or visit us online at WoodyAndersonFord.com. With deals this good, you don't want to wait. I'm Bobby White, and we hope to see you soon.
The company is Eagle Masonry and Insulation, but did you know they're also Eagle Landscaping and Dirt Work? Eagle can take care of all your landscaping needs, including irrigation, sod work, and planting, both plants and trees. On the dirt work side, Eagle can grade and build your pads, haul dirt in or out, and even do erosion control. Philip Love and his team can do it all for you. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
Isn't the story of the prodigal son an amazing story? Basically, a rowdy boy who literally wished his father dead, ran away, and consumed his wealth with hard and fast living. Yet the father looked for his return every day, and when the boy got tired of eating pig slop, he decided to return. What did the father do? As soon as he saw that boy, he ran to him, threw his arms around him, and killed the fatted calf for a great celebration. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of the Cross Point Church. If you're looking for a church home, come see us, smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Emily Owen. Expect to see a partly cloudy sky for this Monday. We'll start to see clouds gradually increase throughout the afternoon as an approaching frontal boundary continues to grow closer to the Tennessee Valley. High temperatures expected to top out in the mid-70s. No rain in the forecast for your Monday, but that changes heading into Tuesday. Scattered rain, a few thunderstorms going to be possible as the cold front moves through. High temperatures going to be topping out in the upper 60s. With wind gusts as high as 25 miles per hour possible. I'm Fox 54 meteorologist Emily Owen on your home for ESPN Radio 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Sports Talk 24/7 365. Your full-time sports station.
You're doing a great job. Keep up the good work.
Is 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Doesn't anyone do any work around this joint anymore?
Wow. This is what I'm talking about.
That's right.
Take me back.
We're going to talk Menendez brothers? Is that what we're going back with?
We're talking Menendez brothers.
Menendez brothers.
We already talked enough Netflix things. All right?
Look, I'm just saying the Menendez brothers and this song will now be connected for forever.
Okay.
So,
well,
by the way, if you haven't seen that, you want to go watch it because
Okay.
it's absolutely amazing.
That's-
And they still may be getting out soon.
Joe's suggestion of the day as we continue on with the sports talk. This time, getting a little bit more into the SEC, of course, with a four-way tie we got going on currently, and it could get even better come the end of the season. But we're going to hop right into the phone lines because we got LSU Lou on with us. LSU Lou, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm all right. What's going on, fella?
How's it going, bro?
Not too much.
Probably a little bit better than you.
Yeah. Well, since our season is a dumpster fire, but I think the two best teams in SEC right now is, unfortunately, Georgia, because they have stepped it up, and I want to say Ole Miss as well, because they have both teams have cleaned it up, and it's to a point to where they actually look dominant on the field.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like if Alabama and Georgia faced off again, I feel like we would get a much better game. Do you think that a Georgia team could beat an Alabama team second time around?
Yeah, I don't think it'll go anything like the first game. No. I think it'll be completely different. I think if Alabama had a different team they played this weekend instead of Mercer, we would be talking about Alabama differently, in the sense of if they actually showed something that was more convincing, because I don't care about Mercer's schedule. It's Mercer.
See,
it's true. It is true.
It is.
But it's still a 9-1 team, and in their respected conference, it's much better than the team that we saw, of course, Auburn play.
But no, and look, Lou, you're with me on this. Like, I don't think that this game should be taking place 3 weeks before the end of the regular season. It shouldn't.
No. Look, picture this: Alabama A&M beat Grambling. That says a lot right there about what's going on. It's like, so at this point in the season, Mercer shouldn't have been on the schedule. It should have been, they could have swapped places with Arkansas, South Carolina, somebody like that.
Yeah.
Because it would have been a more convincing win, whoever had won.
Well, and I think that, Lou, I think that basically what happened, and I know Sankey's trying to get on the SEC about faking the injuries and stuff along those lines. But at the same time, all you said was, hey, you can't schedule, POS opponents before your rivalry week. And so they said, oh, okay, cool. Then we'll just do it 2 weeks before our rivalry week. Like, that's all they did, is they just moved it up so that they could have a third bye before you go in and play your final 2 games.
Right. So I don't necessarily look at it like cupcake schedule, but you got to look at the team for what it is.
Yeah.
So if you look at Vandy and you look at Mercer, you're definitely going to pick Vandy, correct?
No, definitely.
Especially in 2024.
Mercer, Arkansas,
yeah.
South Carolina, Mercer, even Florida Gators. I don't care how bad they put it on LSU. LSU has some internal issues going on, but even Florida Gators, it's just the schools. So when you look at the schools, you know what to expect from certain schools. Some schools are underperforming, but they still are, like Auburn. I'll say, you put Auburn up against Mercer, you're going to think automatically Auburn's going to run through them.
Which is exactly what happened like with ULM. That's what, I know that Alabama doesn't play Mississippi State this season. This is where like that 9th conference game is coming in, where you would have put that game right here. And that's where it would have gone, where you would have had, your Mississippi States or, your LSU, which Alabama automatically plays them, but these other few games that you didn't play, you would be getting that there with Texas A&M. Like, I'd much rather have seen Texas A&M and Alabama this past weekend than Alabama Mercer.
Again, we don't even get to see
that would have
this year.
Shook up everything with the whole who's making a playoff. That would have shook up everything. Everything. But one thing I got to say about Alabama, because I'm not an Alabama hater, I just don't like the fans. The inconsistency that Alabama shows when they're on the field, as far as the domination, that's what's hurting Alabama.
And I can totally agree with that.
Potentially hurt them with where they stand as far as getting into the playoff or not. That part.
Yeah, we appreciate your call, LSU Lou. Good stuff from you, and he's not wrong. I mean, we've seen Alabama throughout the season, and this goes for a lot of teams in the SEC and college football as a whole. Of course, we just saw BYU lose to a Kansas team that honestly has been underperforming this season as well, and that comes back down to the NIL, the transfer portal, all of that. It leads to a more dynamic and more competitive college football scene that honestly I love to see, but he makes a point. Alabama, Auburn, you go down the list, Kentucky should not be facing off against these types of schools this late in the season when every single game should count like none other.
I didn't give a second thought to Alabama Mercer. Like I just genuinely didn't. At 11 o'clock when all the games were starting, I just didn't go, hey, I know we're going to talk about this on Monday and we're going to break down Alabama versus Mercer. I need to watch. No, I didn't care one bit. And I told the truth whenever on Talking Ball earlier. The very second that I turned Andy Burcham on while I was in the car and I heard, here comes Peyton Thorne in the Auburn offense, I just turned the channel. I was like, there's no reason for me to pay attention to it because, yes, Walker White got in late. He led Auburn to a field goal. That's cute. That's fun. But you know what? He still only got one true series. Like I know what I'm getting with Peyton Thorne. Peyton Thorne's not going to help me beat Texas A&M and Alabama in the next 2 weeks. Like, he's just not. I don't care how many touchdown passes
he's also far from the future, so it's not showing you much of anything for the team you're currently watching.
Going back to what we just talked about, boxing. Yep. What did this do to improve Auburn in the next 2 weeks? How did this benefit them other than staying healthy? That's it. Like, and so now, like in the way the college football playoff is the other team that I continue to look at right now is, I swear, if South Carolina had one more SEC game,
exactly.
I am telling you, if South Carolina had one more SEC game, this team is a team you do not want to play right now. And if we're talking about the way college football is in 2024, if South Carolina had an opportunity, let's just even say like a 4-team playoff between all four the top SEC teams, South Carolina has the ability right now with the way they are playing that they could play in the SEC championship game if there was a playoff of some sorts in there. And Jake Crane talked about it on Talking Ball about how you have an end of the year tournament and all that. You can't do that in football. We know you can't do it. But when you're talking about the best teams in the SEC right now, you cannot talk about it without even saying, yes, South Carolina is there.
Yeah,
they absolutely are. South Carolina, the one thing that they do well, they get TFLs, they get sacks. You know who is right with them in that? Oklahoma. And that's now, look, the offense for Oklahoma is garbage.
Dogs.
I mean, hot garbage. Alabama, when they're flying in, they're going to look across and they're going to look out their window and they are going to think that there is a fire in Oklahoma. It is nothing but the team trying to burn the garbage that is their offense. Like, that is all it is. Okay. But at the same time, this defense for Oklahoma is really, really good.
Yeah.
And so if this could be a low scoring game, but how did Mercer prepare you for Oklahoma outside the fact of, you know what, at least we got to stay healthy. Everybody stayed healthy. You know, we got to see the depth here. Like, oh, it's cool. It's another bye week. Look, you schedule POS games because you didn't have the second bye. Now you have the second bye. You don't need POSU coming into town.
Exactly. And a lot of people were, talking about Ole Miss and the way that they started their schedule. It doesn't really change too much because similar to Alabama, they're playing the same amount of POS teams, which, they started off against Furman. They played against Middle Tennessee, and then they finished off against Georgia Southern before going into SEC play against Kentucky, where they, in fact, lost. Now, those games did not help them when it came to playing up against Kentucky. You see, of course, Ole Miss only got better after they started playing against SEC opponents, which they don't have any more out-of-conference games all the way up until, of course, the Egg Bowl, which I am not very excited about because Mississippi State hasn't held up their bargain. But this is also a growing Mississippi State team. Now, when you talk about...
last time Mississippi State won a game?
It was
2023?
Probably.
They beat you, man.
But for for South Carolina, another SEC game or at least another game up against a top-tier opponent would benefit them. They're playing Woodford this week, and then they finally face off against Clemson to finish off. What a game that will be.
I know. I'm telling you right now.
I'm ready for it.
I do not know what the spread is. If South Carolina is a dog in that game, give me South Carolina as my wacky underdog pick.
I wouldn't blame you.
I'm 2 weeks away from this.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's the Clemson hate. I don't really know. I don't hate Clemson, but I'm just saying South Carolina is going to beat Clemson next week.
Yeah.
I don't, if South Carolina is a dog going into that game, Give me South Carolina as my underdog.
Now, I like where you're going with it, but I'm not going to overreact to too much because this one's going to be in Clemson. This isn't a bad Clemson team by any means. Of course, they faced off against Oregon at the beginning of the season, or not Oregon, Georgia at the beginning of the season. They ended up losing to that team, but it honestly propelled them forward to have a decent year. Now, they did lose a few weeks ago to, I believe, Louisville. They were the team to best them, but outside of that, they only have 2 losses, and they still have a picture within the playoff.
Yeah, Louisville just lost to Stanford over the weekend.
I know. Talk about an upset that was. Wacky underdogs. I'm just telling you guys, anything can happen all the way up until the end of the season. But now I want to know your guys' opinions. Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee. There's a 4-way tie going into next week. Who do you think is the best, and who do you guys think is lacking within this 4-team tie?
It's tough. No, it's tough when you think about these 4 teams because it's like, okay, who would I have above everybody else?
Well, it is tough because Alabama beats Georgia. Georgia beats Tennessee. Ole Miss loses to some random teams throughout the season. I mean, there's not a lot that you can really put down and say confidently.
I know. It's like when you look at them, it's like, okay, it's a 4-way tie for the SEC. But it's a tie that actually makes sense because of how evenly matched a lot of these teams are to each other.
Well, it's a 4-way tie for second place in the SEC and just another spot in the playoffs because, of course, Texas sitting at that number 3 spot, which are they going to lose? Are they going to win out? They still have to face up against Texas A&M, which is going to be a fun matchup. But without Texas A&M having Le'Veon Moss, that matchup looks a lot less appealing.
I need to see, too, how many teams has Texas played in the top 25?
Not many. Not many. I don't think.
No. Okay. So that's the discussion about
Georgia.
Texas is because they played Georgia when Georgia was ranked 5 in the country. They played Vanderbilt when Vanderbilt got into the top 25 and they played Oklahoma.
They played Michigan when they were number 10.
That's the other one. So Michigan and Oklahoma, we don't really look at anymore as top 10 teams or even top 25 teams because of what they're. And see, that's where the transparency goes from this. And honestly, you look at Texas the past few weeks, they've beaten Arkansas, they beat Florida. Then, yes, the last time that we even thought about the Texas Longhorns was when they were playing Vanderbilt. And it was more of a, hey, can Vanderbilt do this twice? Like, can they do it again? Like, can they upset Texas after upsetting Alabama?
And they almost did.
I mean, Diego Pavia was not giving up in that game. But now they have Kentucky this week before going into that matchup against Texas A&M. And so we're not even going to focus really on Texas for the next, 7 days until we get into Thanksgiving week. So the whole idea of Texas, are they the best team? Are they not? They're winning, which is first off, all that you need to do on this. They're also healthy, which is another important factor of all this.
Except for in the running back room, which they have not been all season long.
But against all season. Mm-hmm. But then the way Georgia played against Tennessee, is that just because it was Tennessee at home at night? Is this the way that Beck is going to play the remainder of the year? Which we don't really know because they have an easy game this week before they play Georgia Tech. So, I mean, their SEC play is done. Mm-hmm. And Alabama, they still have 2 games, one of which against a really good defense in Oklahoma that has a horrible offense. And then you have, it's Alabama and it's playing Auburn in Tuscaloosa. I'm not
Oklahoma
even thinking about
2.0, except for even worse quarterback play.
Yeah, no, but see, and then now Ole Miss to me is the one that you go, you know what? You take 1 or 2 plays away against LSU or 1 or 2 plays away against Kentucky, Ole Miss is undefeated. Like, they seriously only lost by 3 points to LSU and 3 points to Kentucky.
Yeah.
Should they have lost to Kentucky at all? No. Absolutely not.
No. And they were leading the entire game against LSU.
No. But they have arguably one of the best defenses in the SEC and one of the best offenses in the SEC.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
So if you gave me Ole Miss versus Texas in Atlanta, or you gave me Ole Miss versus Georgia in Atlanta a second time, both of those games are going to be fantastic. But of the teams right now that have 2 losses, I would probably lean towards Ole Miss in this because of quarterback play and Jackson Dart and his ability to check down a lot better than what I still see from Jalen Milroe. Like, I look at what Jalen Milroe did against Mercer. I was like, hey, cool, that's great. You played Mercer. You were able to do those things. That isn't an SEC defense. Like, that's not what you're going to face next week against Oklahoma. Like, I'm not even talking about the Iron Bowl. It's not what you're going to face on that defensive line against Oklahoma. You are going to have to continue to progress as a quarterback. And as long as Oklahoma makes adjustments where LSU didn't, then you're not going to be able to find those wide open running lanes where you can get 70 and 80 yards a run.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm looking at now with Alabama and with Milrose. You've got to continue to progress, or when you get to the SEC championship game and you're playing Texas, you are not going to beat them.
No. I look back at that, even the LSU Alabama matchup, and that's not even a top tier LSU defense when it comes down to it. So you're seeing an Alabama team succeed around that. I would go, since you guys haven't thrown it out at me yet, I would go Georgia.
You're asking the question.
And you guys,
You're always going to be last when you're asking the question.
Answer the question.
That's why I do it with the cover five. I ask you guys first.
You gave me the breakdown. Now answer the question. All right.
Miss.
You think Ole Miss is the best out of those four?
Out of those four, I would say Ole Miss.
Bandy, remember, Ole Miss did get a win against Georgia just last week. That one, I feel like not a lot of people are remembering.
No, absolutely.
Follow up against Tennessee.
The fan in me wants to say Alabama, but just seeing what they've done on the field, Ole Miss.
Okay. So you guys are going with Ole Miss.
And we're not saying this is a talent thing. No, because Alabama obviously has more talent than what Ole Miss does. Okay.
Right.
And that is where on the field, that's where the coaching is going to come into play and the growth of the football team. And we have seen that growth with Ole Miss. Alabama continuing to grow. I'm not saying that they're not, but when it comes to the quarterback position and that being the X factor, I take Dart over Milroe because of Dart's ability to read defenses better than what I think Milroe can.
Okay, so that turns the question to, can Ole Miss beat a Texas team? Do you think Texas would slack against the high-powered offense in the form of Ole Miss and Jackson Dart? Because this is a Texas team with a really, really good defense, one of the best in the conference, but again, hasn't had to go up against too many of those top offenses within this conference.
I don't think that Ole Miss can beat Texas.
Oh,
I don't.
Really?
No, I don't think Ole Miss can beat Texas. I think it would be I think that is going to be probably our best when it comes to most entertaining game in the SEC championship. If that is what we get, is Ole Miss versus Texas. I think that Texas is, if they play Georgia again, it's going to be a totally different ball game. But what I do think is that with the way that, again, this Ole Miss offense goes and the way that it works, the thing about Texas is their secondary is so good. They lead the SEC in interceptions right now. They have one of the best scoring defenses, if not the best scoring defense in the SEC right now. And yes, Ole Miss does as well. But what I think the difference in this is Texas's ability to utilize every single piece of their offense a lot better right now. That not a lot better, but better than what Ole Miss does. And again, if you're giving me Ewers over Jackson Dart, then I would put Ewers over Dart. Now, again, that goes back to what I'm saying is I'm not saying that Dart isn't a good quarterback. I'm just saying Ewers in that offense with their offensive line and the way that this team has been playing since they got punched in the mouth against Georgia early on in that game, I still would pick Georgia over Ole Miss. But I think Ole Miss Texas is going to give us the best opportunity to have the most entertaining SEC game.
Well, it's going to be a little bit difficult, of course. That Ole Miss team's sitting right now at 9th, right ahead of Tennessee, but right behind Georgia and Alabama, as both of those teams saw a good push up into the top 10 of the AP poll. Now, of course, we will be getting yet another college football ranking tomorrow night.
We will.
Do we really care about it? Just a little bit, because it matters just a little bit more than the AP poll, but it's not too different.
Look, I would right now, hands down, if you give me Sunday morning at 6 a.m. like this is C-SPAN or something, and I'm getting to watch inside that room, I would watch that any day over what's going to happen tomorrow night. I would much rather, I want to see the process.
No.
I want to see the conversation like what we're saying right now. So if you're comparing Texas and BYU, tell me why BYU should be above Texas, which obviously is not going to happen. But I'm just saying, I want to see the committee discussing this the way that we discuss it every single day. That is what I want to see. I don't care what the chair is going to say when he gets told what his questions are going to be from ESPN. I want to see the process. I want a camera in the corner with a microphone so that I can hear everybody discussing this. That's what I want.
I want to also flip this over to an Arkansas team that, of course, lost heavily to Ole Miss, and that was one that you could definitely look at a difference. This is an Ole Miss team that put up, I believe, like 63 points at Arkansas. It was an earlier game, But then you see Arkansas face off against Texas. Texas only puts up 20 on them. Of course, the offensive line wasn't holding up too well to that Arkansas front. But at the same time, Arkansas came into the season looking a lot better than how they have, with a little bit more potential. Of course, Bobby Petrino's back. Sam Pittman fighting for his time at Arkansas. But the one thing I've noticed about Arkansas is that you don't have the amount of playmakers that we see on some of these other more competitive SEC teams. I think Arkansas, outside of Ole Miss, outside of Texas A&M, I think Arkansas could even beat LSU, all right, especially at this moment. But I think the one flaw that they've had is not enough playmakers. Of course, they got Jaquindon Jackson. Of course, Taylon Green's been a spark, but not and having Andrew Armstrong's huge. But outside of that, this Arkansas offense doesn't have really much anything. Their defense can hold up, but if they get behind, they get very, very far behind, as you saw just a few weeks ago against Ole Miss. But we'll take it to break. When we get back, going to hop into your phone calls, as well as get into, of course, the wacky underdog standings.
Yeah. I got some news for you on the other side, too. Kind of cool.
I can't wait to hear what Bandy's got to say on the other side when we get back here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone and ESPN Winchester.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. This action update is brought to you by GBank. Earn cashback rewards on every eligible gaming transaction. VSiN.com/GBank.
College football from Saturday, Alabama rolling past Mercer 52-7 as the Crimson Tide raised their record to 8-2. They're back in SEC play on Saturday when they travel to Norman to take on the Oklahoma Sooners, who are 5-5. Early lines for the contest: Alabama 14-point road favorite, minus 700 on the money line, while the Sooners are plus 450. The over/under is at 47.5. Auburn beat Louisiana Monroe Saturday 48-14. They go to 4-6. They'll be back home to face Texas A&M on Saturday. And the early line for that contest has the Aggies a 2.5-point road favorite, over under 47.5. For VSiN.com, I'm Tony Desiri, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Hi, this is Wes Neighbors. I'm here with Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Sam, tell the folks about Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Hey, Wes. Our company, Fleming Roofing and Restoration, specializes in commercial and residential roofing and repairs. I'm a 5th-generation Huntsvillian, and our family's been doing construction business in Huntsville area since 1965.
Sam, what kind of roofs does Fleming Roofing and Restoration do?
Our guys are skilled enough. We can come out and address any kind of leaks or issues you might have on your commercial, on your metal roofing, on your shingles. We can do anything, and we can offer you a solution to repair it, or we can replace it.
But you guys also do insurance restoration.
Our staff has 10+ years of experience as insurance adjusters, and we really do know the inside and out of the claims process at Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Check out Fleming Roofing and Restoration online at FlemingHSV.com, or you can call or text them at 256-651-9440.
Hey, Wes, we show up.
The state's largest orthopedic group is growing to meet the needs of the patients in our community. The Orthopedic Center has long been the most trusted name in orthopedics in North Alabama. So as our area continues on the fast track, so does the need for premier orthopedic care anywhere and anytime you need it. TOC is proud to announce the opening of our new locations in Albertville and Hampton Cove, along with the grand opening of our newest office in Decatur. These clinics will offer the same high-quality orthopedic care you have come to associate with TOC, with the convenience of being closer to home. As a patient, your time is your most precious asset, and we recognize that at TOC. That's why we are also proud to announce the opening of our urgent ortho clinics to handle those bumps and bruises that need prompt attention. These clinics are available to care for acute orthopedic injuries with no appointment necessary. With 38 physicians, 20 centers of excellence, and now more than a dozen locations to serve you, TOC will continue to be the name you turn to for the best orthopedic care at the right time. Visit our website at visittoc.com for more information. TOC, helping you live a better life.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
There's power in caring when it is put into action. Each year, our bankers serve on nonprofit boards, support our local educators, and volunteer with our hometown food bank. I'm Bobby Humphrey, Vice President of Business Development for Bryan Bank, and community service is just not a line item in our mission statement. It's who we are. Because after all, Alabama is our home too. That kind of commitment to community might not be what you would expect from a bank, but it's exactly what you can expect from us. Give us a call or stop by one of our 2 offices in the Huntsville area and experience unbeatable service and legendary results.
Bryan Bank Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 2428943, member FDIC.
Welcome back into the Morning Blitz, presented by the wonderful people over at Fleming Roofing and Restoration, the guys you need to talk to about all of your roofing needs. If you're having any roofing problems, make sure you look them up online to fill out your free quote. You can find them at FlemingHSV.com. And remember that Fleming always shows up, similar to our broadcast. Whether you are over on the Apple or Android stores, you can download our apps at 97.7 ESPN as well as Talk Radio WZZN for whatever you need, whether it's sports, whether it's Fox News. That's how you get it anywhere you are here in the universe. You could be flying to Mars and you could probably still get our feed. That's the cool thing about, of course, technology. Now, on top of that, you can also watch us.
All I'm thinking of now is Matt Damon trying to get our feed while he's over there trying to grow plants on Mars.
I'm thinking about Bender just like playing the radio out of his being to the crew for Futurama.
Bite my shiny metal. Welcome into the Morning Blitz.
Exactly. That's exactly how it would be. On top of that, you guys are able to join in on the show,
256-576-4977.
As well as over on our YouTube page over at WZZN TV. Now, I was talking about how interesting it is to be an SEC fan because not only do you have Texas in the top 5, one of those lone teams just covered up by the Big Ten, you also have the 4-way tie with Ole Miss, Alabama, of course, Georgia, and Tennessee. Now, on top of all of that, what could make things even more interesting in the next few weeks is if Texas loses to Texas A&M, not only creating a 4-way tie, but bringing 6 teams into the college football playoffs from the SEC. We thought 5 was doable. We thought 6 was impossible. Let's think again as we hop into the phone lines as we got Jason next. Jason, how are you doing today, man?
Hey, I'm doing good. Yeah, I was getting ready to ask y'all, is it a given you get 4 teams or can you have more?
You can have as many as you want as long as they're part of the at-large bid.
There's going to be a max limit, though, because you need to have a Big Ten team. You need to have a Big 12 team, an ACC, as well as just one SEC squad.
So what you're saying there's a limit of 8?
Including a group of 5 teams. So there is a little bit of a limit, but you still could go up. It's almost impossible.
Do you remember what was it when they first started the conference championships and Oregon was playing UCLA and Chip Kelly and they was 5-7 and won the Pac-10 West. So 5-7 team could have went to the playoffs.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Theoretically, in this scenario, yes.
Yeah, so that's not no good.
I mean, look at the ACC and the Big 12.
Okay, well, hold on. Let me double check. So with the rules of that this goes, this is just the 5 highest ranked conference champions. It doesn't mean that if you are a conference champion, you automatically get in, right? Like that's how the rule is. So if it's like a 5-7 team that's not ranked, you're not going to be one of the highest ranked conference champions.
Right. So, and another thing, besides having these games, like Alabama had Mercer, and they played South Florida this year, why don't we eliminate one of those games and start bringing in a Big Ten 10?
I agree.
Or a Pac-10 10,
yeah,
and start playing them instead, and just show who's got the better conference.
Well, no, and I think that's part of what the conversation was with Commissioner Sankey and the Big Ten and the SEC when they met in Nashville a few weeks ago. Is I think that a lot of that discussion was, hey, look, let's just go ahead and start planning this for us to schedule against each other and those things. And obviously nothing really came out of that outside the fact of they are making discussions and ideas about this, but that's where the scheduling part comes in is, look, I'm okay with a 3-loss team being in if they're playing the best teams in the country. Like that's where we're automatically wanting to look at the win-loss records. Like, oh, they got 3 losses, they're out. But if they're one of the hardest schedules in the country and they're one of the best offenses and defenses, and they just happen to come up against 3 teams that beat them, okay. Like, if they're playing the best football in December, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you can't like South Carolina. They look like they're going to be looking on the outside. Since they played Indiana and BYU, do you not think they would beat them?
Oh, absolutely. See, I think that South Carolina would definitely beat BYU. Mm-hmm. I think South Carolina and Indiana would be a really fun matchup. I'm not saying that they would or wouldn't. I just think it would be a really fun game because of how good Sellers has begun to grow and started to grow as a quarterback. Decision-making for him is becoming much better, and you're starting to see him kind of get this offense. I mean, heck, again, the reason that South Carolina lost to Alabama was because Sellers made a bad decision at the end of the game. Yeah. Sellers today would not make that same mistake that he made a few weeks ago.
And I think this is another thing we need to look at when it comes to, of course, the landscape of college football. I don't think we need to focus as much on the past, but more of the future of these teams kind of adjusting and evolving to be a little bit more competitive to face off against said SEC opponents like South Carolina. Right now, we would say South Carolina would beat an Indiana team. Indiana has a few more years, a little bit more of the recruiting class, NIL. They're able to build their team up to where they can compete against a middle tier to a higher tier SEC squad. And also, going to the highest ranked conference champions, you could be a team that's not top 25 ranked. It's still just the highest ranked.
Yeah, so the way that the verbiage is the 5 highest ranked conference champions and then the next 7 highest ranked teams. So if the 5 highest conference champions is from the Mountain West, the American, the Sun Belt, the MAC, and the Conference USA, those teams are getting in. Like that's just those would be conference champions that were ranked higher. If they're ranked higher than BYU or Colorado, if they're ranked higher than whoever wins the SEC, they would get in as one of the 5 automatic bids for the conference champions. Then you would have the other 7 spots be taken up by the teams that are the highest ranked. So yeah, no, if you're 5 and 7 and you're, number 55 on the list and you just somehow upset a team in the SEC championship, then you're not getting into the college football playoff.
Okay. And ranking the teams in the SEC, this is my deal. Would you rank it Georgia, then Texas, Tennessee, since they beat Alabama, and then coin flip between Alabama and Ole Miss?
Well, these two just said that Ole Miss would be the better of the 4 teams that are tied currently.
I would probably say Texas, Ole Miss, and then Georgia is how I would rank it right this second in the top 3.
I think Alabama plays Tennessee again. They do win, by the way.
Well, probably.
Oh, yeah. I was pulling for Tennessee to win the other night because I wanted to rematch in the SEC championship game.
Well, it would definitely be intriguing.
Oh, yeah. Well, all right. Y'all have a good Monday.
Hey, thanks for that. And look, and that's where, that's where a lot of these games are taking place that are going. Again, Beck, he played tremendous. Let's not act like Georgia messed up and happened to win this football game. Georgia had a secondary that they literally could not stop the tight end for no help could have helped them. They could have only blitzed 2 and dropped back 9, and they were not stopping Georgia in their offense.
It was a vintage Georgia that we were seeing. Of course, they lose Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, and of course, chaos ensues. But I mean, it's just been a crazy style of college football, and I think it has been the way that we expected. I mean, obviously some of these losses, not the way we expected, but at the end of the day, this is the type of madness that I believe college football wanted. And you say that, if it's unclear with the teams that get in, that fans are going to just slowly but surely fade away from college football. I don't think that's the case
I
whatsoever.
think that if you're trying to grow the sport, which is what we're doing, there's two things that need to happen. One, get rid of the bowl games that are connected to the college football playoff. That's just dumb. The other thing that you need to do is you need more transparency with what is going on in the room and the conversations that are taking place in this, because you're not just talking about college football teams making the college football playoff. You're also talking about slots in which these teams will be getting paid millions and millions of dollars every single time they win a football game and continue in the college football playoff.
There's a lot of money on the line.
Absolutely. So it's not just about the winning. It is about the winning as well. So Army, for instance, are 18th in the country. They end up as a top 15 team. They make the college football playoff because they're one of the top ranked college football champions, conference champions, but they're ranked 12th. Why are they ranked 12th? Like, you know what I'm like? We need transparency in why this is taking place, not just some guy talking.
We'll try and figure that out on the other side here on the Morning Blitz.
By now, you know about Eagle Masonry and Insulation, and maybe you know that Eagle also does landscaping and dirt work. But how about after paint work? Shower doors, shelving, and mirrors, all taken care of by Eagle, the same Eagle that takes care of all your masonry, insulation, and landscaping needs. Eagle brings the same level of expertise to all these disciplines, and they're ready to provide you with a free quote. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money. Take it to the house this football season with the Alabama Manufactured Housing Association. If Alabama or Auburn returns their first received kickoff in the second half for a touchdown at a home SEC game, one lucky fan will win up to a $75,000 down payment towards the purchase of a manufactured home from an authorized AMHA dealer. Don't miss your chance to take it to the house this season and win a beautiful manufactured home. Register to win today at auburntigers.com/tickettothehouse or rolltide.com/tickettothehouse. Certain terms and conditions may apply. To learn more, visit alamha.org.
Hi, folks. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, inviting you to come test drive any one of our over 100 F-150s. From rock-solid, dependable work trucks to our state-of-the-art Platinum Series, we've got an F-150 for you. Test drive one today, and you'll understand why the F-150 is the best-selling truck in America, going on 48 years in a row. Just as successful offenses and defenses are built on teamwork, Woody Anderson Ford is powered by our people. Our sales and service teams are well trained to save you time and money. And because we want your business again and again, no one will work harder to earn it. Our mobile service teams come to your home or business for oil changes, brake work, tire rotations, and more. And the great thing is you don't pay extra for it. We come to you with mobile service at no extra charge. Proud to be local, family-owned, and at your service for over 62 years. Woody Anderson Ford, Alabama's F-150 Superstore.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's a daily update on Bama sports, and it's brought to you by CB&S Bank. Bank anywhere, at any time, with CB&S Bank's digital solutions. Managing your finances has never been so easy. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. Here's head coach Kalen DeBoer following Alabama's win on Saturday against Mercer.
Good to get a win and get a lot of guys out there on the field. They all put in a lot of work, and there's that little window that you try to hit where you get the ones that work and you get the score where you need it to be. And for the guys to play a quarter and a half essentially and get a lot of guys on the football field, it was fun to see them get out there and play and work on their execution. So like that we got 3 more takeaways. I think there's a mindset about our defense and 3 of the first 4 possessions to do that. Just really like where we're at. We're hunting the ball and offensively, putting the drives there, and over at the end of the first half, maybe, had a field goal there. Love to score in the red zone, get a touchdown, but for the most part, again, taking care of the football, no turnovers.
I'll have more in a moment.
CB&S Bank has a long history of stability and a legacy of serving our community's needs for generations. You could say we know a thing or two about tradition. We've been family, community, and financially strong since we began in 1906. Being a team player is part of our culture. That's why at CB&S Bank, we're proud to sponsor the University of Alabama Athletics and prouder to take the field or court with you. Visit cbsbank.com today. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Join us tonight for Crimson Tide Rewind, presented by the Alabama Department of Public Health, live at 6 p.m. Central from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by CB&S Bank. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. This action update is brought to you by G-Bank. Earn cashback rewards on every eligible gaming transaction. VSiN.com/GBank.
College football from Saturday, Alabama rolling past Mercer 52-7 as the Crimson Tide raised their record to 8-2. They're back in SEC play on Saturday when they travel to Norman to take on the Oklahoma Sooners, who are 5-5. Early lines for the contest: Alabama 14-point road favorite, -700 on the money line, while the Sooners are +450. The over/under is at 47.5. Auburn beat Louisiana Monroe Saturday 48-14. They go to 4-6. They'll be back home to face Texas A&M on Saturday. And the early line for that contest has the Aggies a 2.5-point road favorite, over under 47.5. For VSiN.com, I'm Tony Desiri, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Emily Owen. Expect to see a partly cloudy sky for this Monday. We'll start to see clouds gradually increase throughout the afternoon as an approaching frontal boundary continues to grow closer to the Tennessee Valley. High temperatures expected to top out in the mid-70s. No rain in the forecast for your Monday, but that changes heading into Tuesday. Scattered rain, a few thunderstorms going to be possible as the cold front moves through. High temperatures going to be topping out in the upper 60s. With wind gusts as high as 25 miles per hour possible. I'm Fox 54 meteorologist Emily Owen on your home for ESPN Radio 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com.
3, 2, 1.
Joe Hunk, John Abraham, Bailey Lowery, 256-576-4977. This is the Morning Blitz.
Second hour, final hour, best hour on the Morning Blitz, as we are at the moment trying to pick up the remains of John's brain on the ground, which sounds really messed up, but we've just blown his mind in this discussion of the college football playoff.
I love the conversation that we had. It was very in depth, of course, talking about the different teams that could make it into the round, the first round that they get a bye week, and then you have Bandy Man come in and show you a video of a dog drinking water.
Yes, like an aggressive,
comedic relief.
Very, very aggressive dog eating in this. And one of the examples that I made in this, and we'll continue on the phone lines here in just a second because I know we have Brandon and Natty Dan ready to go, is that I use Jacksonville State as an example because right now Jacksonville State is undefeated in Conference USA play. They have also won 7 games in a row. They lost the first 3 games of the year. Then they've went undefeated for the remaining part of this. The reason I bring it up is because I said, say for instance, if you're talking about the 5 conference champions get in, and if somehow Jacksonville State was to get ranked and say be number 24 in the country, and you were then in turning around and you saw Clemson lose the last 2 games of the regular season, but with that, none of those were going to be ACC games. No. They still get into the ACC championship. They would be unranked if they won the ACC championship and was an unranked team. And Jacksonville State was ranked 24th in the country and one of the 5 conference championships in front of the ACC. Clemson wouldn't get in, and Jack State would.
So they would have the bye alongside.
Because the 5 conference champions get in, the 4 best conference champions get the bye.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So Jacksonville State would still have to go somewhere and play, and they'd probably be the 12 seed, but they would get in over an unranked ACC champion. I know it's weird.
Who would get the other bye then?
That's where it gets a little mixed up.
No.
Is it could it be a Conference USA champion?
If the Conference USA
ACC is not doing a good job and they start slacking, and of course their conference champion is not in the top 25, could we see a team like Jacksonville State or
like Boise State?
Boise State
right now is ranked 12th in the country. If by the end of the year and the conference championship weekend, if Boise State was one of the 4 highest ranked conference champions, they get a bye. A Mountain West team gets a bye.
That's what I was saying with the Conference USA.
But in same thing. That's why I'm just using as a real example of somebody that's ranked right now instead of the CUSA example, because that's where Jack State is.
Madness.
No, it
you
is.
could get an undefeated Liberty team and have a bye week in the first game of the season. If we go back just a few years ago, I mean,
absolutely.
That's
if they're one of the 5, if they're one of the top 4 conference champions, and then absolutely.
Okay, so then what we were talking about a few moments ago with one of the callers about a team like that definitely could not happen. But I don't know. There's a lot of interesting things, and maybe that's the clarity that you were talking about that the fans need to really stay involved with the sport.
Because what I'm wanting to know, and what is we use the Jack State example. If Jack State, and I say this, they're 7-3 right now, they would obviously not obviously, but you think that they're not going to be one of the 5 highest ranked conference champions if they win the CUSA. But if they're at, the number 24, why I want to know how you go about finding the other 7 top teams in the country if you're having to fill the spot with the number 24 team in the country because they're one of your highest ranked conference champions. So that is how the Morning Blitz is going on this Monday with about 3 weeks left in the season.
Hope you're not
trying to figure
car.
everything out, because right now, if you are, you've got like a Sharpie on your window and you're just somebody's looking over on the red light going, why can I not see his face? All I see is markings right now as he's trying to connect all the dots. Like it's always sunny in Philadelphia. Like that's exactly what it is.
Pepe Sylvia.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get back to the phone lines. 256-5764.
97.7.
Natty Dan, welcome into the Morning Blitz. How's it going, man?
Doing quite well, gentlemen. Speaking of playoffs, I think my team is, and speaking of the Lions, are more than qualified to be in the playoffs.
Really?
The team in the NFC, and gentlemen, the only downer is that Abalone broke his forearm.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got a pretty deep linebacker core. I think with Campbell, Rodriguez, and number 51, I can't remember his name. He's pretty sound. So I think we're going to be okay. I think Abalone, they said 4 to 6 weeks. Maybe that'll be the same time Hutch comes back. I don't know. We'll see. But if not, I think this team's still good enough to beat anybody in the NFL. You have 7 possessions. Detroit has 7 possessions with Goff as quarterback. In each one of those possessions, it was an 80-yard drive. 80-yard drive to pay dirt, cash, 7 points. That's crazy good. I mean, and I know you're going to say it's Jacksonville, but the pros are the best of the best out of college, right?
Yeah.
So it's still it's the best of the best. And that, even Jacksonville's not having a great season. There's still quality players on the team.
No doubt.
And then 7 of 7 drives with a touchdown, and he threw for over 400 yards. I think Goff's the real deal, and that running core is crazy, dude. But top to bottom, this team is just as good as Kansas City, Buffalo, if not better. I'm telling you.
Well, we'll see that Lions-Buffalo matchup on the 15th of December, so we'll definitely figure that out. And on top of that, of course, they get to play the Packers yet again at the start of December, so that'll be another good one.
Forget the Packers. Come on.
Come on. I mean, 24-14 wasn't a bad game, but that was in Green Bay. They'll have to head to Detroit next time.
And then we got Chicago at Thanksgiving. I told Drew this morning that I'm going to cut back on my Thanksgiving dinner because I'm going to fill up with the victory from the Bears.
Oh, yeah.
So my belly will be full before I eat my Thanksgiving dinner. But the bottom line is this, fellas, and your callers got to agree with me, okay? Who got it better than us? Then that's a quote from Harbaugh, Detroit Lions. Who got it better than us?
Kansas City.
All right. You guys, you want to play Lions? You don't want to play Lions, do you?
Oh, no. I would love to see Kansas City and Detroit play. I absolutely would.
Have to come in the Super Bowl.
No, don't. We're not counting the dumb preseason. That doesn't count.
Don't you stop that.
You can't count the preseason, but we'd have to see it in the Super Bowl,
now,
if anything.
The first win you're talking about absolutely took place, and that was a fantastic win for the Lions. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's right. And I put money on that game straight up, dude. I believed in my Lions straight up. I won K-ish.
Yeah, no, that was a fantastic win for Detroit. No, that was amazing because they at the time nobody thought the Lions were going to be any good, and then they come in and they beat Kansas City the way they did. That well deserved.
It's been a wonderful year. I'm going to hang up in a sec, but it's been a wonderful year. I'm still the defending national champion. Okay, and I got a team that's Super Bowl bound, or he's on its way. Nobody who got it better than me. Nobody.
Not a lot of people, except for
Yeah.
some fan bases. We appreciate you, Natty Den, and he's re-upping on his, of course, title name. We're gonna have to call him something if Detroit ends up winning it all. But I will say, Detroit's a team that has shown exactly what he said. These are the best of the best players on these squads. They destroyed the Titans. They destroyed Jacksonville. You go back even farther. They destroyed Seattle. The only team that has beaten them is Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers, which was an odd one early on in the season, but they destroyed the Cowboys. You don't get a lot of these types of games, and the Lions have done it over more than 3 times this season. And that shows that this is a different type of team altogether. It's really going to come down to the playoffs. And then, of course, if they make it to the Super Bowl, are they going to be able to face off against the Chiefs or one of those top teams over in the AFC that could maybe best them? But, I mean, right now, you can't say that the Lions aren't a good enough team to make it.
No, the Lions right now are the number 1 team in the NFL. They are the number 1 team in the NFL, especially after Kansas City lost to Buffalo in an absolutely amazing game in Buffalo. That is exactly what I'm looking at with it. But the other part is today, I still say that if you have Lions, Eagles, NFC Championship game, I don't know who you pick in that, because the Eagles are outside the Titans. The Eagles have the number 2 defense in the NFL, and they have the number 2 passing defense in the NFL, which is a big part of what you're seeing from Detroit right now. Yeah. And also they have one of the top 5 defenses in the NFL in stopping the run game, which is what you're seeing with Sonic and Knuckles and that type of thing, which is an amazing nickname.
Great combination.
But it means the biggest thing to me is look, Lions, amazing season. You make it to the NFC Championship game last year. You have followed it up. I was not a Jared Goff believer. I've been hard on him for obviously when he was in LA and even when he got sent to Detroit. I didn't think he's going to be a starter after one season. Like I didn't. I remember saying it to Tom. But you go Philadelphia, Detroit, and depending on where that game is, I'm still going to be looking at an Eagles team with a defense the way that they play. I'm still looking at, not saying I'm picking them, but I'm not even saying that the Lions are making it to the Super Bowl yet, because it's still going to come down to potentially the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell for sure whether or not a team is for sure going to make it to the Super Bowl, especially when you see a team like this throw 5 interceptions against the Texans. If you throw 3 interceptions against the Eagles, you're probably not coming back from that type
and I'm not, and that's where the conversation lies now is Philadelphia's 8-2. Okay. They were like 10-1 last year, and we thought that this team was going to go back to the Super Bowl and be the first team to go back to the Super Bowl after losing it. And then they just literally crapped the bed everywhere.
They lost the Cardinals. I mean, the list
and
goes on.
So look, that's why it is. They are 10 or 11 weeks and games into the season. You still have 6 games. You have injuries that play into it. You've already lost 2 players that were a big piece of your defense. And again, the one thing that you look for in the NFL is depth. Yeah. Okay. And a lot of times when you start losing key pieces here and there, you're going to eventually say, no, we're going to be fine. No, we're going to be fine. It's about the one game. Yeah. And it's the game in January. That's going to be the one that's going to matter. And that's the one where a defensive end that was going to be able to get around a right tackle or a left tackle doesn't do so. And it allows that quarterback a millisecond more time to get a ball to one of his wide receivers, and you lose.
No doubt.
That is the difference. It's not about the regular season. It's about what you're going to do in January.
Back into the phone lines as we have Brandon in next. Brandon, how you doing today, man?
Man, I know y'all were talking about the football playoff, and John seemed a little lost, but you're still doing better than the Netflix IT guy. So you're always one up on them.
Is he still employed?
Speaking of a millisecond.
Yeah, no, that was brutal.
That was so bad. I mean, come on. An event like that, and for Netflix as well, this is one of their first that they're doing live. To have it just hit the ground, rock bottom so quick, it just took everybody out of it and sent them over to, of course, Antonio Brown's Twitter page, who had 6.6 million people at one point.
Oh, as well. I mean, the cracked streams of it were working better than the Netflix one.
Yeah, they still weren't that good.
Speaking of cracked streams, did you see the guy get thrown down the stairs at the Bears-Packers game?
Yeah,
I did, but sadly, that wasn't from the game. That wasn't from that game.
That wasn't from that game?
That was not from it? Okay.
It was not from that game.
I was wondering if that might have been the Netflix IT guy. I wasn't sure. So
that man's just living his life somewhere, and he got a viral video about him. He hadn't even that probably happened like a year ago or something.
He's like, I wasn't even there.
I wasn't. What? I'm sitting on my couch right now. How did this take place?
The funny thing is that happens almost every single time teams like that play up against each other. We just don't get to see all the videos.
Well, I guess that's the only time a Bears fan is going to get a win this year. So I guess they'll put that in their pocket.
Yeah, talk about that.
So earlier, Joe was talking about who's playing on Thanksgiving Day. So basically, we're going to have Shane Falcone and Eddie Martell for quarterbacks on Thanksgiving Day, right?
Yeah, it's going to be horrible.
I mean, who doesn't want to see Tommy
the video?
Tommy Cutlets, Tommy Turkey, whatever his name is, face off against QBs that honestly we forget about just in the span of seconds. Gives the family together.
Nothing like bad quarterback painful football, huh?
And what's bad is probably the best game of that day is going to happen that night. It is going to be Dolphins and Packers. And that's going to be at Lambeau. And the only reason I say it's good is because Dolphins look like they're starting to figure out their offense again with Tua.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's Tua. Tua's back on the team.
I mean,
do we got built-in airbags around his helmet?
Should
I think he has something similar to that actually.
Yeah.
You've seen him take his helmet off. He has a wrap around him, and you think that he's just looking like a George Pickens, the George Pickens mentality. But it's actually a safety precaution that whenever it gets impacted, it does give a little bit more protection for the quarterback.
I think it also has OnStar, so anytime it takes a big hit, he gets an OnStar representative.
At least he doesn't have an official to tell him when somebody gets close to him. So
yeah.
I guess we'll leave that.
It's got the lights that you see on cars if you get to the side of them. Beep, 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 beep. Like, somebody's coming.
So, that sadly might happen one of these days. As much as we make a joke about it, that may end up happening.
QB vision's going to go up a lot.
Now on this show, I know you guys are probably not too estranged to talking about a little UFC.
Oh, Bandy's all for it. He's actually been just like he's licking his lips, waiting for the caller.
Here we go.
Okay. So we're into a situation now to where with John Jones at the age that he is, he's not done yet, but as far as that era of UFC, we're looking at a slight time before we're going to have a turning of the page.
Yeah.
So before John Jones were to shut it down, who do you want him to fight?
Ooh.
To just put the stamp on the top and say, okay, that was enough. I'm done. He showed me everything I need to see.
It's tough with John. It's tough with John Jones, but because honestly, I would love to see him fight anybody. I just love watching John Jones fight. But I know he wants to fight Alex Pereira next. I don't know, and I think Dana White's already shut that down. I would love for him to fight Pereira next, but I think they want him to fight the interim heavyweight champion. That would actually be an interesting fight. I mean, because heavyweight. So I'm trying to think about what I'm trying to say now because I'm like it's all on the spot. It's all on the spot now.
Just say it.
Just say it. But John Jones, whoever he fights, I don't think is winning. John Jones is just that guy. I think he's the greatest MMA fighter, UFC fighter of all time. I don't think it matters who he fights because it's always been that cycle. He'll fight an uppercomer or he'll fight an established champion. He beats the mess out of him, or he gets a no contest or that one DQ, that stupid 12-6 degree elbow rule that I freaking hate. But it'll just be the cycle. They go up to fight him. Yeah. They find out John Jones is the man. And it just repeats itself over and over. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't think anybody can beat him.
The 12-6 is legal now.
Wait, when did it become legal?
Dana White said 2 weeks ago, 12-6 is legal now.
It's all foreign to me.
Oh, he's never losing again then. Yeah, he'll never lose again.
Well, when he came out many years ago against Quentin Rampage Jackson, and he was kind of down on all fours, like he was just kind of screwing with him before he choked him out. That was where he showed me a lot that day. Because Rampage is a hell of a fighter. Right. He just came out there and did exactly what Quentin didn't do well, and he didn't try to win a fist fight with him, just like he didn't try to win one with Stipik over the weekend.
Yeah.
He said it's weird to hit a guy in the face as hard as you can and it doesn't even phase it.
Yeah, he took the same strategy with Daniel Cormier when they fought multiple times.
I
He was never going to the ground against Cormier.
No idea where you guys are going with it. Brandon, I appreciate your call, man. We got to hit a break, but UFC and MMA, great stuff, man. It's foreign. It's foreign to me. Roll Tide, by the way. We do need to hit a break. When we get back, we're going to hop into more of your guys' phone calls as well as more of the football discussion as we continue to talk about Alabama. We continue to talk about the playoffs and what we're going to see tomorrow at night because it's going to be a lot of interesting things here on the Morning Blitz on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
If you work in a dangerous or logistically intense industry, you know good training can be a challenge. There are training costs, safety concerns, and difficulty replicating real-world scenarios. There's a better way used right now in the Army and in all our armed services to better prepare our heroes, and it's available to you in your organizations. Higher Echelon's game development team is revolutionizing learning in military training, dangerous industry, STEM, and sports performance domains with cutting-edge virtual training that immerses you in lifelike scenarios without the cost and safety concerns for trainees. With Higher Echelon's game-based training, you'll experience realistic simulations, precision accuracy, and unparalleled safety. Higher Echelon founder Dr. Joe Ross is retired Army who played and later coached for the cadets and puts that experience to use. His team has been building cutting-edge virtual training environments for soldiers and clients for a decade. Higher Echelon, the name you can trust for advanced training solutions. Reach out at higherechelon.com to get your free consultation. Go Higher and go Army.
Hey folks, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford. If you're in the market for a new ride, now is the time to make your move. We've got over 700 new Fords to choose from, and with over 2,700 Google reviews, our customers have spoken, giving us a pretty impressive 4.4 out of 5 stars. Believe me, we work hard every day to earn those 5 stars. Just tell us what you need. This month only, we're offering big savings on your favorite Ford models. You can save up to $10,000 off MSRP on a 2024 F-150 Super Crew pickup. Or take $9,500 off MSRP on a 2024 Edge all-wheel drive. And if you're looking for something even bigger, take a spin in our 2024 family-size Expedition available for $11,000 off MSRP. Deals end November 30th. And with always, it's with your good credit. Stop by Woody Anderson Ford today or visit us online at woodyandersonford.com. With deals this good, you don't want to wait. I'm Bobby White, and we hope to see you soon.
AL cert number 21014.
Welcome into the hottest and coolest game show around called The Freeze. Today's contestant, Bob. Bob, can you tell me the heating and air business that provides free service with repair?
Is it Talent Heating and Air Conditioning?
Can you tell me which heating and air business provides free second opinions?
Talent Heating and Air Conditioning.
You are a grand prize winner. You have won a visit from the #1 heating and air business in the Tennessee Valley.
Talent Heating and Air Conditioning?
That's right. Talent Heating and Air is coming to you.
This is Thomas with Talent Heating and Air Conditioning, and you don't have to win a game show to use us. We have free second opinions year-round, and we're doing free service calls with a repair. So just remember, call Talent Heating and Air Conditioning at 256-503-4490 or visit us on our website at talenthvac.com.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Twist cabbage off instinct. Don't think, stink pink gators. My Detroit players. Tim's for my hooligans in Brooklyn.
Real quick, gonna update the wacky underdog picks.
Yes.
As we had one winner this past weekend. Yet again, Bandy Man goes and wins another small spreaded game, but still gets the dub. So 2 weeks in a row, Bandy's been the only one to win. He got Kansas over BYU. 2.5 points his way, and this bumps him up a few spots. Now sitting at 8th place with 4.5 points. Good job, Benny!
Let's go.
I almost flipped the table on Saturday.
I don't doubt it. Why can't Underdog Picks do that to you?
Because I'm sitting, I'm at Spraggins Hall. I'm getting ready for this game, and it's senior day for UAH, and I am thinking to myself this whole time, all right, I'm about to get this Pitt Clemson game. I'm about to get the upset. Pitt takes the lead. And then I look over my shoulder and I see a Clemson player just running straight into the end zone. I was like, It
happened quite a bit when I was watching the Browns and the Saints.
I was so incredibly angry because I was so ready. I had the text almost ready to send because I was like, there's no way Clemson's going to get down.
I'll take this
And I will take it. I want.
We still got to get. Did Jason ever get his award that he got for the halfway season?
Yeah, we sent it out.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure. All right, because I'm not involved with that whole process. The other games that were picked throughout this past week, of course, included that Tennessee versus Georgia game. Jason and Yorkie got in on that one. It didn't hit. I picked San Jose State to win against Boise State. It was close for a majority until Ashton Genty totally just silenced the crowd.
Decided to go Ashton Genty.
Yeah, and then Boise State just took that win away. But the standings are now looking like this. Yorkie sitting at first with 17.5 points. Altogether, he's got 33.5 points. Joe's sitting at second with 15 points altogether, 32.5 points. Kramer sitting at third with 11 points, altogether 12.5 points. We're going off of, again, the first points that I'm throwing at you. And then I am sitting at fourth with 10 points. Haven't gotten any since the halfway point, but I am still sitting at 39 as the overall leader. And then to round out the top five is Jason. He's got 9 points, still hasn't hit any points this second half of the season, but he's sitting at 26 points altogether, and he, of course, won that halfway point prize. So now we look a little bit farther into the future. There's going to be a lot more games to look at. What's going to happen when college football season comes to an end? Well, we're going to flip it over to the NFLs. There's going to be a lot less of those big-time spreads.
Fewer opportunities.
Make sure you get in this week, next week, and the week following for those final regular season matchups in college football. And then, of course, we're flipping it over to the NFL scene, so you still have a chance.
Which I got you. I'm hoping to make a big leap in the standings this week.
Okay.
'Cause I already got my pick ready to go.
Benny's like, hey,
I already got it ready.
We going ballsy this week.
On a Monday. I already got it ready.
Wait, on a Monday?
On a Monday.
Okay, now I do want to know because I'm sitting here now looking at like high school spreads. Like I was like, all right, what game can I go with here? Like, I mean, we're starting to look at some of these things, and I was like, all right, we got that Fife and Piedmont game right now. Can Piedmont 7-point dog? Like I'm just starting to stare at it. Thompson and Enterprise.
Have the spreads gotten any lower?
Let's see. So the biggest spread right now you have is Tallahassee is a 33-point dog to Jackson. You have Arrington. I don't even know where that's at. Is a 28-point dog to Highland Home. And you also have Bessemer Academy is a 28-point dog to Chambers Academy. That's pretty much it. The rest of them are like within 10 or 15. You have UMS Wright as a 27-point dog to Viger.
Okay.
So that's about it.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, in 7A, Hoover is a 6-point dog to Central Phoenix City, and Enterprise is a 6-point dog to Thompson.
We're past week 2 of the postseason, so that's whenever these games get a lot closer.
Start seeing really good matchups.
I'm definitely looking forward to that. Of course, we saw Madison Academy lose this past week to a West Morgan team that is going to have some bragging rights at the dinner table come Thanksgiving. But regardless of that, great season by that squad. And great job by, of course, Steve Moulton, who's been on the call all season long. But, it's going to be sad. We won't have as many of these high school picks to throw at people, even though they can't pick on them unless you're a degenerate. Or you're also McNeil from Ohio because he actually posts high school lines.
Oh, my God. You follow that guy, too.
Yeah. Remember, man?
Oh, my God. We had him on
Ohio.
Oh, my God. We actually had him on the show one time.
Twice.
Well, no, and I'm already looking now. I was like, dang it, I want lines for next week. Like, I'm already looking at the high school football, or not the high school football, but the NFL lines as well. Yeah. I'm like, all right, I want to see what games I could possibly pick because right now the biggest spread is Washington and Dallas. Which that's god awful.
I can't wait. I want Washington to destroy.
I mean, look, it's horrific.
But go ahead and mark it down.
Oh, heavens.
Okay. It's happening.
Give me the Black Knights over Notre Dame. Screw the Fighting Irish.
That's what we're going to screw the Irish. Although I did meet a really nice Irishman yesterday at UAH. But screw the Irish.
Hey, not the Irish.
No.
I'm part Irish.
I know, but I'm just
saying.
But
the Fighting Irish.
The Fighting Irish.
No.
Specific.
Screw the Irish. I'm
you're Italian.
I'm joking. I got no ill will
Calm
towards
down.
the Irish.
We're gonna have a.
It's about the gangs of New York up in here.
Yeah, we're about to go. We're about to go back to the 1700s up here.
Me and Bandy are pretty good friends, and on top of that, my roommate's also a little bit Irish. So we've made amends. We've come together and ended that beef
for 2 reasons. I like the way Army plays, and I want them to stay undefeated.
But it's not going to happen, though.
And 2,
shut your mouth.
They're debuting new uniforms for this. And I know this gets you interested, Captain Cool.
All right.
Because they're going to announce they're hyping it up as likely the greatest uniforms in the history of college football.
No way.
When they represent one of the most famous Army units in history 80 years after one of the most significant battles of World War II. And where's my mind immediately go hearing this?
Black Ops.
Band of Brothers.
Ooh.
101st Airborne. That's immediately where my mind takes me. And we could potentially be getting a Band of Brothers inspired Army uniform against Notre Dame on Saturday. And I will have full faith in that team to run through a brick wall and stomp on the Fighting Irish.
Mm-hmm.
I think that even maybe Notre Dame fans are going to be against Notre Dame in this one if this uniform is as awesome as you think.
That's how they're hyping it up as, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, they are a 16.5-point underdog despite being undefeated against the Fighting Irish in Illinois. So
they're 16.5-point dog. Indiana is a 12.5-point dog at Ohio State. And so I'm like, okay.
Oklahoma is a 14-point dog at home against Alabama. That is a 6:30 p.m. kickoff, though.
Yeah, 14.
Is it weird to say I have more faith in Army beating Notre Dame than Oklahoma beating Bama?
No, by any means.
No, because Oklahoma doesn't have an offense.
Yeah,
that is true.
They just don't.
Whereas Army football is methodical on offense, and it just looks like a military school in its prime. That's just what you're seeing for this
if
team.
Oklahoma wins this game, it would be like 6-3. Like that's what I'm expecting.
It would have to be, and that's not gonna happen.
I mean,
Jalen Milroe is not being held in check, and on top of that, Ryan Williams got a little bit more life. We haven't seen that much from him as of late, but in that last game,
probably had to take a few weeks off to go to prom or something.
Against Mercer, you're not wrong about that. I wonder who he went to prom with.
He had to go take his driver's test.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He's been driver's ed. He's been over there trying to parallel park.
I wonder how he felt just being the only one at the football facility while everybody else went and voted.
He's just like, well, coach, I'll be on time.
Yeah.
Don't got to worry about me.
Not standing in a line today.
Probably why he scored the touchdowns that he did.
He's in film room while everybody else is standing in line trying to vote.
It's just that scene from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where Will just walks into the living room. There's nothing there.
Nobody there. Just, all right, coach, I'm here. Everybody else, where are you at? They're at the church voting.
This is like our look ahead segment because you can also look at Texas A&M facing off against Auburn. Right
How
now,
are they just a 2.5-point favorite? How?
2.5-point favorite at Jordan-Hare.
How?
Okay, against the Texas A&M team that again does not have Le'Veon Moss. All right, this was the star player on Texas A&M's team. Now they're going to kind of feel like an LSU team that's slowly but surely falling out of the playoff race. I mean, that's just what I'm getting out of this team.
Well, no, and I think that the whole idea with Texas A&M, and it's, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I feel like they are now just being written off because of the injury.
Yeah.
Like I think everybody is writing and saying, all right, well, if A&M gets past Auburn because Auburn isn't that good, they're going to get destroyed by Texas next week. Like I feel like that is the thought process whenever you're talking about Texas A&M team because of the injury. I mean, look, I'm the one that sat here last week and I kept saying, if you don't have Trevor Etienne, then in these close 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, Georgia's may not get the first downs, which could cost them this football game. Well, they didn't because they didn't really ever have to get into a 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2 situation. And Carson Beck continued to pass well. But let's not forget that next week, it's not just that Texas and Texas A&M are going to be playing each other. If Texas A&M is looking past Auburn and they get past Auburn, they are hosting Texas. Okay. Like we think of hatred. We think of the Iron Bowl and Alabama and Auburn fans living together and arguing together. Guys, you don't get how hated Texas and how much Texas A&M hates Texas, because Texas A&M wanted to continue the rivalry and playing each other when they went to the SEC, and Texas is the one that said no. And now the first game that Texas is in the SEC, they have to go to Texas and Texas A&M and play.
And that is not an easy place to play.
And let's not forget what happened during baseball season.
And then you have what happened in like, look, these two teams, if you think there's hatred between Michigan and Ohio State and there's hatred between Alabama and Auburn, Texas and Texas A&M will be a game where it's almost looking like the longest yard, where you're going to have security all around the walls, because that is how Texas A&M fans are going to be acting towards Texas fans. They loathe each other.
You think the Texarkana game was pretty riled up? Of course, Arkansas being able to fill the seats and Texas coming in as well. One of the biggest crowds in that stadium. Put that up times 5, and then you'll have this Texas versus Texas A&M game, and it will be a lot of fun. And there's no telling who's going to be able to get the win in this one, because it just has that much behind it. Of course, there is the loss of the running backs for the season. That goes the same for a Texas team. Both teams are going to struggle to try and run the ball. One of them is going to have a quarterback that could run the ball, and the other one, of course, would have to bench Quinn Ewers to bring in, of course, Arch Manning to run the ball. But I mean, this is just there's so many factors that come into this game that'll make it interesting. And then outside of that, if A&M wins this game, we could be looking at an insane tie going into, of course, the playoffs, which Joe just does not want to get into.
No. Well, no, it's not that I don't want to get into it. I just don't want to sit here and have to think about how the College Football Playoff Committee, not just them, but the SEC, is going to have to break this down and trying to figure out who gets in and who doesn't.
Texas is not going to be just shoved outside of the playoff picture. Of course, Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, Tennessee, they're all going to move up. This also, in turn, means that Texas A&M, wherever they lie tomorrow in the college football playoff poll, where are they going to end up? Because right now in the AP poll, they're 15th. They're 8-2. And you can look at some of their wins and their losses, and you can say, hey, maybe there is a case for them to also be in this playoff scenario. So there's so much that can happen in these next few weeks that it makes it so amazing. Yes, there are amazing teams in the top 5 in the form of the Big Ten. We got Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana, and then if you want to throw in, of course, Notre Dame as a Big Ten team with parentheses around it, then you can. But outside of that, currently, this whole top 12 is owned by the SEC, and I think that's the most intriguing thing that points out to me.
I think that trying to think about how to say this, because I want to be smart with my thought on this.
Don't do it. Don't be smart.
No. I want to be smart.
Be wacky.
And no, because if I'm wacky, then I'm still sitting here thinking that South Carolina can beat some of these top 12 teams. If we want to talk wacky, we want to get nuts, then that's getting nuts.
Thank you for going nuts for me.
Okay, thank you. Like that what I'm saying. But Oregon still, I don't care if you struggle against Wisconsin. You still won in a conference game, your first trip there, like you still won.
Still better than Northwestern.
Yeah, I don't care if Ohio State struggled against Northwestern for a quarter. And they still went to Wrigley, which Northwestern should play all their games at Wrigley. I don't really care how cool it looks that they're playing on the bay, on the Lake Michigan front. No, give me the games at Wrigley because it was a lot more fun. And those teams are the best teams. The other question is going to be your Penn States, your Indianas, which we're going to get answered a lot this weekend. I told 2 weeks ago, I said, circle November 23rd. That's where we're going to be getting the answers for the Big Ten. Yeah. And now if you are the SEC, Alabama and Georgia, especially Georgia, they just have to sit back and make sure they don't screw up and poop the bed somewhere. Yeah. Like you shouldn't do it in Norman. You shouldn't do it in Tuscaloosa against Auburn. Because regardless what anybody says, the Iron Bowl typically is not really close when the game is in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, but I got a question for y'all though before we as we get closer to a break here though. And I 100% stole it from Josh Pay, but I don't care. He makes good content.
Do it.
But does your record reflect who you are? Like are you what your
Josh
record
Pate
says
said
you
this
are?
Better.
Yeah, he did say it a lot better. But are you who your record says you are?
Simpsons
like,
did it better.
If you're Kansas, you're 4-6 right now. Are you truly a 4-6 team?
Oh,
are you on that caliber of other 4-6 teams?
This goes back.
Is your record Is your record who it says you are? That is a very weird way to word it.
You know what? We'll take it into the next break because you need a break. We need a
Are
break.
you who your record says you are?
Thank you, Bandy. We'll take it to the next break. And when we come back, we'll answer that question and your phone calls. 256-5764.
97.7
is the number to get in here on the Morning Blitz. My head hurt.
The state's largest orthopedic group is growing to meet the needs of the patients in our community. The Orthopedic Center has long been the most trusted name in orthopedics in North Alabama. So as our area continues on the fast track, so does the need for premier orthopedic care anywhere and anytime you need it. TOC is proud to announce the opening of our new locations in Albertville and Hampton Cove, along with the grand opening of our newest office in Decatur. These clinics will offer the same high-quality orthopedic care you have come to associate with TOC, with the convenience of being closer to home. As a patient, your time is your most precious asset, and we recognize that at TOC. That's why we are also proud to announce the opening of our urgent ortho clinics to handle those bumps and bruises that need prompt attention. These clinics are available to care for acute orthopedic injuries with no appointment necessary. With 38 physicians, 20 centers of excellence, and now more than a dozen locations to serve you, TOC will continue to be the name you turn to for the best orthopedic care at the right time. Visit our website at visittoc.com for more information. TOC, helping you live a better life.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
It all comes back to money.
Visit our store right now at zonedeals.bigdealsmedia.net to take advantage of all the best deals in the Tennessee Valley. Or just go to our website, 977espn.com, and click on the Zone Deals logo to start saving right now.
Now, as to the price.
These deals won't last long, so get yours now. Zone Deals. You'll thank us later.
A man who could easily afford to buy a vowel.
Eagle Masonry and Installation. It's right there in the name. Eagle is your one-stop shop for block, stone, or brickwork, monument signs, and outdoor kitchens and fireplaces. Eagle also offers the finest craftsmanship and insulation, including fiberglass or spray foam insulation, and of course, insulation removal. Philip Love and his team have years of experience, bringing the region the best in masonry and insulation services. For more information and a quote, visit insulatewitheagle.com or call 256-755-1556. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
If hunting and outdoor recreation are your passions, it all starts with the right property. That's where I come in. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction, a hunting and recreational land specialist and a Jackson County native who sees land through a hunter's eyes. Just as you trust your guide on a big game hunt, you can trust me to find the perfect property for you. Thinking of selling? Let me help you make your land attract buyers. Remember, Bo knows land. Call me at 256-609-0512.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying, but they can also signal a major problem, or worse, an electrical emergency. So play it safe and leave it to the experts at Mr. Sparky. Trust our team of professional, clean, and friendly electricians. We'll get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8
Independently owned and operated, licensed in the respective state or county.
Are you tired of power outages disrupting your life? It's time for a Generac standby generator from Current Electrical. Storms may rage outside, but inside your family's powered up. So why choose Current Electrical for your generator needs? 1, we offer a wide range of models to suit every budgeted energy requirement. 2, our project managers handle every step of the process: power, gas, permitting, and inspections. 3, our certified technicians install your generator with precision, ensuring peace of mind. Don't wait for the next blackout. Call 256-880-1880 or visit us online at jetsuperstore.com.
Wrapping up the Morning Blitz. Tom Abraham coming up at noon. Not only here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone, but ESPN Winchester as well. Make sure that you watch on X or, simply on YouTube or Facebook. We make sure that you have plenty of opportunities to watch there.
I think YouTube's the best place to watch, just in my opinion.
WZZN
TV, subscribe, all that good stuff.
We've got the chat going on as Austin hopped in, huge West Morgan fan, talked about the win that they had against Madison Academy that you were able to hear over on Talk Radio, as well as 97.7 ESPN The Zone after the Alabama-Purdue game. And also Fife surviving Gordo, as Brandon hopped in to talk about that as well. Before we get out of here, I also wanted to give a congratulations to the UAH volleyball team. Been doing their games all season long. They finished the regular season 25-5. Nice. They only lost 2 matches at home, one of which was under extremely unique circumstances because it was probably 10 minutes before the game was supposed to start, and we had to totally flip the court. I say we because it was all a team effort. Everybody had to flip the court to get away from where the dripping was happening, and we had to make a makeshift court in the middle of Spraggins Hall. It was a little fun. It was a little unique, but the GSC Volleyball Championship Tournament is this week down in Pensacola. UAH is the number 2 seed as they're going to be playing on Saturday. They do not know who they're going to be playing yet because they, as well as West Florida, both received a double bye. So they're automatically in the semifinals.
Very nice.
Congratulations to those ladies. 5 seniors had their senior day on Saturday. That's where I was for majority of the day. So wanted to throw out a congratulations to them, and their head coach, John Mosley, is a listener of 97.7. So he and I talked about it the other day because he was like, wait a second, I heard you talking about how you were going to be doing the games, and it just clicked with me that you've been doing our games all year long.
Sitting over there, I didn't recognize your hair.
Screwing up names.
A little bit more about it.
And it took me all season long to get one player's name right, and her name is Callie Tanielu. It seriously took me all season long just to get her name right.
Good. I'm just glad you did.
And also, since I'm throwing out thank yous, I also would like to apologize to Haley Strasser because I messed up her name on senior day, and I apologize. She's not a senior. She's a freshman, but there's a Haley Holzhauser on the team, and there's a Haley Strasser. So when I went to say Strasser's name, Holzhauser just came out.
Well, sometimes it happens.
Totally screwed up. I know PA announcing makes me way more nervous than doing play-by-play.
I don't get it. I don't doubt it because it's instant reaction that you get from it.
The goal is for the girls not to laugh. If the girls begin to chuckle after you say a name, you said it wrong.
That's when I stand up and just walk. I just get out of there as soon as possible. Tuck my head. Nobody will notice, even though there's no PA announcer anymore. Either way, Bandy asked a really compelling question before we hopped into break about.
Did I?
It took you a minute to do it.
Did I get it out?
I think he's still trying to ask the question, to be honest with you.
The entire break, he's just been over there talking to the mic, even though it hasn't even been on. But he was talking about the record and if that shows what the team genuinely is at this point in the season. Bandy, I just slowed it down for you. I know it's the exact same thing. But I look at teams, and I got to say that no, it definitely doesn't, because you could see a team face off against easier opponents. I would say Texas. Their schedule, of course, isn't the easiest one, but I will say it's a lot easier than, of course, what Georgia, what Tennessee, and what Alabama have had to play up against. On top of that, you look at some teams like the Naval Academy, and they've also faced off against very easy teams. Just last week, or just this past week, they lost to Tulane in a shutout, and I got to say that's the most ironic thing I've ever seen. The Naval men drowning, of course, to the Green Wave. On top of that, Kansas, as you said, Bandy, has been on the up and up. They were able to beat BYU, which is a ranked team. Just last week, they faced off against Iowa State, gave them one of their few losses of the season. And they also were able to challenge teams like Kansas State, Arizona State earlier on in the season, as well as UNLV, who is ranked on top of Illinois, who is also ranked. So a lot of those games, they've kept it close. They just haven't been able to push forward to win some of those tough matchups. And then I would throw in Arkansas, the team that I've followed very closely throughout the season. I was a huge fan of Taylon Green coming over from Boise State. There were games where they should have won, but it's because they don't have that depth similar to the Alabamas or the LSUs to really push forward and get some of these wins whenever it comes down to fourth quarter, you're trailing or you're leading and you're really surprising a team, as we saw them lose, of course, against an Oklahoma State early on in the season. Very close overtime loss, 39-31. That's when Oklahoma State was supposed to be good. On top of that, you look at a matchup against Texas A&M, a Texas A&M team that is on the bubble. Almost were able to get the best of the Aggies. And then they showed real big sparks against bad teams. But on top of that, I just don't feel like their record should be 5-5 and 3-4 in the conference. They've had opportunities to win, but it does go back down to that depth.
And with Texas, like, I know I'm hearing a lot of things about the schedule and, oh, hey, you know, they got an easier schedule. Look, the SEC is the one that went to Oklahoma and Texas, I'm assuming, and said, look, whenever they discussed the new schedules that were going to be coming out in 2024, you either get to play Texas or Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's not like they're saying you get to play Texas or Vandy. And I say, yes, Vandy's good this season, but historically, you guys get what I'm saying. Exactly. Oh, you get Texas or you get Kansas. Like, no, we know what you're talking about. Historically, Oklahoma has been good.
Better than Texas.
It's just not the case this year because Jackson Arnold was trash and still is. But so now if you are a team that was on Oklahoma's schedule, your Tennessees, your South Carolinas, your Ole Miss, your Missouris, and even Alabama's, you didn't have to play Texas. So yes, it kind of sucks in a way that they've created this limit on you're either playing one or the other. And a lot of these schools got the easier of the two. I put easier in quotation marks, but now I'm looking at Texas and yes, I see that they're 9-1. They have the one loss against Georgia. They crapped the bed in the first half. They played a little bit better in the second half, but then they screwed up and they made some turnovers, which then in turn meant that they lost the football game. To me, Texas is still one of, if not the best team in the country.
Yeah.
I know that they're behind Ohio State. I know that they're behind Oregon. But right now, if you were to put Texas up against an Oregon team, I know Oregon's defense is better, but I still put Texas against them, and I would say that Texas would potentially win.
I'd say both Texas and Oregon have pretty equal defense. Even say Texas has.
But yes, but historically, again, going on the historic narrative for Oregon doesn't have defense. Like they just historically don't.
It's speed first,
right? And so now when you're talking about these teams being, and that's where I go back to what I've kind of talked about all day with South Carolina. To me, South Carolina is one of the best teams in the country, one of the 10 best teams in the country right now. If you're talking about November 18th, 2024, I would say that South Carolina is probably one of the 10 best teams in the country. Right now, at least today, they're number 19. There is a legit potential that if South Carolina wins the next two games, they finish inside the top 15. They could potentially even finish at 10. And then you have this conversation about, are they a team that even with 3 losses, you could say has a right to play in the college football playoff? It is a long shot. It is something that would be unprecedented because we argue for the longest time that only 2 teams should be playing. Our teams with 2 losses may not make it into the college football playoff. But when you're playing as hot as South Carolina is right now, and if we're taking this a week by week basis, then you could say that South Carolina, with the way that they have played the last 3 and 4 weeks, even with the way they played against Missouri, which was not their best, you could put them up against another team that is number 12 or number 11, and you would go, I think South Carolina can win this game.
It took a little bit of convincing to think that South Carolina was a genuine team at this point of the season, but beating a Mizzou team at full power. At that, all right? This is a full-power Mizzou team. This is a top-ranked team.
Look,
regardless of what anybody likes to say about the Drew Pine time.
And the college football playoff results are going to come out tomorrow. We'll see where South Carolina is and how they're going. But right now, seriously, we're about to see them play Clemson, who is ranked ahead of them at the moment. But if you were to put South Carolina on the field with BYU, if you put them on with SMU, Boise State, you could make an argument that South Carolina would win those games. Those teams right now are on the edge of the college football playoff.
I tell you, 2 out of 3 of those teams. I still think highly of that SMU squad.
And then you toss out a potential of a Miami team, one of the best teams in the ACC. they're already going to play Clemson. We just talked about them potentially, how they would match up against an SMU and then a Miami. South Carolina, you could again say that they're better than the 3 best teams in the ACC. Now, I'm talking about on this day, November 18th, 2024, which we have seen Miami start to regress a little bit the more that teams get film on them. But that is where the SEC is now. You're talking about the log jam and all these 2-loss teams. But at the same time, there's a 3-loss team that you could really make the argument could be one of the top 10 teams in the country. Maybe a team that if you're talking about the 7 best at-large teams, you could make an argument that they're one of those. Not saying they will, but if they beat Clemson, that's a real discussion that you can have for 5 days.
The committee's got their work cut out for them as we get closer and closer to the end of the season, which is kind of hard to believe because I feel like it just started and we're already almost done with the regular season in college football. And, of course, 6 to 7 games left in the NFL season. Wow.
Hey, quick tidbit. Daniel Jones is not going to be the backup from the Giants themselves. It is going to be Tommy DeVito and then Drew Lock.
Just get him out of there.
Dang, he's not even dressing out.
This is the end of the Daniel Jones era.
That man's getting paid $100 million to just wear a hoodie.
Warm that bench, boy. We'll be back in 22 hours here on the Morning Blitz.
You'll love the expanded wine selection at Liquor Express. From special occasion to everyday table wines, they've got what you need. Meet your friends at the largest tap wall in Alabama with 105 rotating selections. Then take home a growler full of your favorite or choose from our 1,000 canned or bottled beers. Need help stocking your bar or planning your party? Liquor Express